How's it going, my newfound heroes? I think it's easy to say that Earthrise Optimus Prime has been one of the shining stars of the War for Cybertron toy line, yeah? So I've been very keen to talk about it for a while. However, with all the modifications I've made to my version, with the Toy Hack stickers and the Non-F Productions trailer upgrades, which are both very good by the way, I felt like I couldn't review my particular copy since it didn't really represent what the figure is like as it was released. So I decided I'd change it up a bit, pull a little sneaky on ya, if you will, by talking about one of its variants. Today we're driving into the beating red heart of Transformers with War for Cybertron Netflix Optimus Prime. Now, I don't think this is a character who particularly needs an introduction. He's the leader of the Autobots. He's Optimus Prime. He's essentially the star of the series. And since this is my first ever review of the Radiant Red Robo Boss, I was very conscious that I had to make this one special. I wanted to talk about the Earthrise mold, but I did not want my first ever Prime video to be about the one where he's friggin' dead. So I figured we'd look at the Walmart exclusive release of this guy. Now, I mean this with no exaggeration or hyperbole. This might be the best Optimus Prime figure of this scale, maybe ever? Like, if we're going by price to overall quality, it's definitely a contender. While this toy is taking clear, heavy inspiration from the G1 design, that's definitely not the reason I say that, though. Like, the power of the Prime's figure was well compromised by its gimmicks. The Combiner Wars and Titans Return figures worked better as different characters. The Classics figure is, well, a classic, but it's clearly a toy from 2006. And the Siege figure is actually still pretty great. A lot of the toy lines had a very specific unified gimmick that sometimes felt unrelated to Optimus Prime, like being a combiner or a triple changing headmaster. So by comparison, this figure feels like such a huge deal. He doesn't have any other line-wide obligations to deal with outside of just being good. And he is. Very much so. Look at this handsome truck lad. Immediately he has that aura that very much defines what makes Transformers cool. He clearly is a robot who is made out of a truck, which breathes through in the various characteristics like the shoulder smokestacks, window chest, and grille six-pack. Optimus Prime really does have one of the best character designs, so I get that all this figure had to do to look good was to faithfully translate that in plastic. But this figure doesn't stop there. Oh no. The articulation is fantastic. The waist rotation is a smidge limited by the peculiar truck tire posterior, alerting the Decepticons of his presence. But otherwise, this toy can do basically everything you would want to see Prime do. He even comes with finger hinges on his hands. It's so rare on basically any mainline Transformers toy to have finger articulation, so it's just one of the little seasonings that spice up this big boy. And because this figure is going for the title of Greatest Generation's Optimus Prime figure ever, you can even open up the chest to reveal the Matrix of Leadership. It's pretty difficult to get out of his chest, and there aren't many poses where he can hold it with both hands. But I'm so taken by the fact that they even included this. It sort of makes him feel a bit more legit, you know? I also like how you can make this chest mouth thing out of him. And might I add, the sculpt here is absolutely breathtaking all around. Just so much robot-y detail to be discovered hidden in the main figure chunks. And the overall larger details are a huge part of what gives this toy that Prime pizzazz that so many other figures of this character sort of lack. Adore how they made out the little smokestack grooves and the signature leg vents, which I believe leads us to the head sculpt, which looks nothing short of beautiful. The Optimus Prime head design is already so good with the dynamic angles and the mouth plate, and this is a flawless representation of it. The color choices seem to be where the majority of the changes take place between the Netflix version and the original Earthrise release. So the blues are repping a bit of a more navy flavy than the Orig's vibrant cerulean. I really like this. It's not far off from the blues of the G1 Prime toy. I really like that his arms have some blue on them as well. This isn't something Prime usually has, so it kind of gives me a bit of a Transformers animated vibe, which will always be a positive thing. There are some areas where I actually feel this figure triumphs better over the main release, like how all the waist polygons are picked out in this yellow, and the way the bright blue eyes contrast with the navy head is supremely stunning. Look at that. Gleaming. This figure is also rocking a round, chunky version of Optimus Prime's iconic Ion Blaster, cast entirely in a gorgeous black plastic darker than a new moon on a Montana midsummer night. Now, despite this being called the series-inspired Netflix repaint of the toy, the only design detail specific to the War for Cybertron series is the color on the chest windows, displaying a very dreamlike light greenish gray. This actually looks really nice and unique. It's a pretty relaxing color choice, honestly. So the other big difference between this and the main release is that rather than coming with a big old trailer, Netflix Prime comes with 2 Battle Masters, because what Optimus Prime figure is complete without 2 piss-colored weapons? But anyway, these two are Enirax and Shieldron. As accessories go, these are fine. I like how Optimus Prime can now have a little pterodactyl buddy. Shieldron's transformation makes MP44 look like an Action Master by comparison, and they both turn into an axe and a shield for Prime to wield. Again, these are decent, I just don't really care all that much. They're not the reason you'll get this set, but I appreciate how Enirax kind of homages Optimus Prime's Energon axe that he uses exactly once in the G1 cartoon.
I wonder if that's where his name came from.
But back to the main feature, this figure's robot mode is just dazzling. It has exactly everything you could want from your big red Autobot leader. Now let's transform and roll out. The transformation is simply superb. It's a lot of classic Optimus Prime fare, but so refined and lives up to its full potential. The way the front section flips out and folds out of him is just genius. And the truck mode is, let's be real here, exactly what you want it to be. It's a lovely, even cute little boxy red and blue 80s truck with a flat front and the retro charm. But it looks authoritative, like this is the one in charge of the Autobot convoy. It's a 6-wheeled machine with a heart of steel and a mind of courage, driving the long, rocky roads defending the planet from the Decepticons. Really digging the scrumptious silver stripe and the other details like the front grille's slam dunk sculpting and the arches above the front tires. Should probably spotlight the handsome headlights here, harmonizing with the relaxing desaturated green windows. And the back part looks really solid too. I admit I have no idea what real-world trucks look like from this angle, but considering that this section always tends to look like Prime's legs, it does what it has to. It's got a trailer port so it can haul the Earthrise guy's trailer if you wish. You know, for those of you who own multiple releases of this figure. Also, just about all the weapon holes from the robot mode are still visible here, so you can turn this into a one-truck army and go wild with it. And since the blaster can be folded up, it can snugly store in his back section as well. 2 trucks holding hands, 2 trucks holding hands. So to summarize it all, this is a wonderful figure. It does basically everything you could reasonably want from an Optimus Prime toy, and packs everything together to create this full, confident, all-around knockout representation of the character. This isn't just classic Optimus Prime, this is classic Transformers. It pretty much embodies the thing that makes Transformers fun and why people like it, and truth be told, if you were to ask me what my favorite figure of my entire collection was, I wouldn't really have an answer. But this here is one of the greatest of all time. Definitely a top 5 Transformers toy for me. It's got the touch, and indeed, it's got the power. So thank you all for watching and listening to me rave about this toy. Now go enjoy that sweet afternoon, child of the cosmos.